The Romantic poet John Keats's La Belle Dame Sans Merci was written in 1819, that astonishing year of Keats's feverish and miraculous poetic fecundity, when Lamia and St. Agnes Eve and Isabella, or the Pot of Basil, and 5 of the greatest odes in existence came into being. La Belle Dame Sans Merci is perhaps the most fiercely compressed short poem in existence. Keats takes us on that familiar journey of love, then love lost, and the emotional distress and spiritual bereavement that can accompany the loss of love. And yet his poem stands alone, as if Keats is creating the very mythical wellspring and template from which every other telling of the story, even ancient ones, derive. The woman without mercy in Keats is the archetypal femme fatale, the dark, alluring woman dripping with enchantments who turns out to be other than it seems, but she's also the gorgeously monstrous betrayer of our nightmares, the embodiment of our deepest desires, and yet the Lamia and dark enchantress. But Keats's poem isn't only the first and best telling of the femme fatale. It is the wasteland poem where, at the end, the sedge is withered from the lake and no birds sing, and we have moved from the lushness of the forest to the parched, desiccated desert, not just of landscape, but of our own eviscerated hearts. The poem was first published in Keats's friend's Leigh Hunt's journal and has been reprinted everywhere, from collections of the top 10 most popular poems to pages of the 30s pulp weird tales where it is almost uncannily at home amidst the founding documents of modern horror and modern fantasy fiction. It is also a poem that, like Keats's longer version, Lamia, has mesmerized painters who strove not just to illustrate it, but somehow to capture its very heart, and so reach deep enough that many of the versions of La Belle Dame Sans Merci are masterpieces. I hope you enjoy this reading and celebration of the art the poem inspired. La Belle Dame Sans Merci, a ballad, John Keats, 1819. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms alone, and palely loitering? The sedge has withered from the lake, and no birds sing. Oh, what can ail thee, knight at arms, so haggard, and so woe begone? The squirrel's granary is full, and the harvest's done. I see a lily on thy brow with anguish moist and fever dew, and on thy cheeks a fading rose fast withereth too. I met a lady in the meads full beautiful, a fairy's child. Her hair was long, her foot was light, and her eyes were wild. I made a garland for her head, and bracelets too, and fragrant zone. She looked at me as she did love, and made sweet moan. I sat her on my pacing steed, and nothing else saw all day long, for sidelong would she bend and sing a fairy song. She found me roots of relish sweet, and honey wild, and manna dew, and sure in language strange she said, I love thee true. She took me to her elfin grot, and there she wept and sighed full sore, and there I shut her wild, wild eyes with kisses for. And there she lulled me asleep, and there I dreamed, ah, woe betide the latest dream I ever dreamt on the cold hillside. I saw pale kings and princes too, pale warriors, death pale were they all. They cried, La Belle Dame Sans Merci hath thee in thrall. I saw their starved lips in the gloam, with horrid warning gaped wide, and I awoke and found me here on the cold hillside. And this is why I sojourn here, alone and palely loitering, though the sedge is withered from the lake, and no birds sing. Okay, I very much hope you enjoyed that. If you did, please like and subscribe. You might enjoy another video I just did on Keats and the art of the horrific yet beautiful poem, Isabella, or the Pot of Basil. What's in the pot, indeed? That cover painting is from the pre-Raphaelite painter William Holman Hunt's 1868 Isabella and the Pot of Basil. In case you're interested, here's a quick note on the paintings in today's video. I ended the video with the one painting not specifically about the poem, but the desolation of it fit. It is Monk by the Sea by the German romantic painter Casper David Friedrich, painted a few years before Keats wrote his poem. The next is by a painter I keep making videos about, the fabulous late 19th century, early 20th century painter John William Waterhouse, who did many paintings from Keats's poems, including his Lamia, which is really like a long La Belle Dame Sans Merci and is often confused with his Belle Dame Sans Merci paintings. The next is a 1905 version of La Belle Dame Sans Merci by Rose Cecil O'Neill, and then the British painter Frank Dicksee's marvelous work by the same name. And this, of course, is from the pulp Weird Tales and is from the terrific illustrator Virgil Finlay, who for several years in the 1930s would illustrate a poem in every single issue. I've done videos on Finlay's work, and I'm doing another on his poetry illustrations. Finally, this is a 1901 painting, La Belle Dame Sans Merci by the English painter Henry Maynell Rheam. Thank you for watching.